Hey everyone, welcome to another session of Guftagoo. Today our topic of discussion is HR shaping the new future. We have our InnoRenoVate team as the panel members. We have Pande, who is our CEO. We have other HR professionals from our team as well, Shriyog and Abhinav. Welcome everyone.
Thank you, Navrupa.
So we all know that this COVID-19 pandemic has completely changed the way we work. This sudden shift in work culture has brought major changes in the role of HR as well. So in this session, we are going to talk about how do we reframe HR? What is the role of HR in restructuring an organization, in building an organization culture that is able to adapt and transform itself in this era of uncertainty? So with this, let's start with the discussion. So my very first question would be to you, Nitin sir. What do you feel? What is the scope of HR in this new future? Like HR can shape this new future.
Thanks, Navrupa. So see, my view is a little different. HR, we as any professional HR person, you will see that there is one thing or the other which keeps on coming every time. So people say now we are moving to new normal. So HR in the new normal. My view is that it is HR for never normal, right? We have to be in this VUCA world. There are a lot of things which keep on happening. COVID, of course, was a very big event which has changed a lot of things, and we'll discuss that some of it today. But in general, HR has tremendous challenges every day. And that's why for HR, it is never normal. You keep on coming with new initiatives or new technology or growth. In everything, HR gets involved. Like every time we have this new thing coming up, we think this is the biggest challenge you've ever faced. So that's how HR is typically. Coming to COVID specifically, I think obviously there has been significant shift in the way people have started working, and most important being the concern or addressal around the workplace, whether it will be hybrid, whether it will be remote working, and a lot of companies have shifted their approach to it. I mean, like for example, we have shifted to remote completely after COVID. We now, because our job can, we can still do it remotely, but a lot of other companies are facing this challenge of whether to call people to office, whether to when to call them to office, and how many to, because people also are getting used to working from home, is my opinion, and they don't want to. I think that this will be the biggest challenge on solving this riddle and puzzle for the HR folks, and very few companies have been able to take a firm decision on either which way, whether it's hybrid, 2 days a week, or it's completely remote. Very few companies have decisively taken a decision in that regard. So I think the biggest challenge for COVID would be this. The other thing which related to COVID and more working from home has its own disadvantages as well, which has come up time to time. I think given from my past, I can just say a couple of things, and there are many more, but I'll just say a few. Number one, I feel the extent of creativity in a team environment is obviously very high when you are physically talking to each other and discussing ideas. It happens naturally. It's not that it should be planned meeting for idea generations or thing. Every day-to-day working, you get some ideas. I think that is one missing piece which companies are struggling with, apart from the discipline and productivity issues which a lot of companies are saying. The other second thing is, I think the mediocre performers will find fully remote working a big challenge. See, when people who used to go to office, when they would, mediocre, when I say mediocre, people who need support, sometimes help with certain simple trick on, let's say, Excel or PowerPoint, or even knowing something which is which works well with certain superior, certain leader, All those are day-to-day working and then learning new things. It gets lesser if you are working completely from home. So people who are not the top-notch performers or independent performers, let's put it, who can work independently, they will find they continue to find this challenge, this very challenging. And this is not very much talked about, but I think this is getting reflected and will further become a bigger issue. There are few, and there are many more. People have written about it, so we don't know. I will probably have Abhinav and Abhishek also to contribute to the challenges they think. But these are more from COVID. One of the things for HR perspective would be the ways of working and the productivity challenge and creativity challenge largely. And there are many more factors.
Yeah. So what are your viewpoints, Shiog and Abhinav?
So as Nitin sir has said, like work from home. So yes, it is like we find difficult to track the performance of the employees, like whether the efficiency of the employees. So we need to track that and all other performance for work from home opportunities.
What about you, Abhinav?
Yeah, so currently, because the professional world is always in a constant state of changes, many new policies and procedures, strategies come up every day. But since the past 2 years, it has completely changed. The COVID pandemic has affected a lot of businesses. It has taken up lives, disrupted businesses. But somewhere, at some point down the lane, it has opened to new doors of opportunities. Like that, it has made our strategic leaders, especially the HR team and the management team, to rethink and reframe the processes and procedures, and to bring up new strategies, new policies, new work processes, so that it would make them make their the work life of the employees and of the organization so much better. For example, if, as you know, we cannot come in contact with each other during this COVID, so a new option opened up, work from home. Then for training and development activities as well, the trainers cannot come because, of course, due to obvious reasons of pandemic. So they open for video conferencing, and it's like it gave us an opportunity to change, or opportunity to learn, and opportunity to develop ourselves. Yes, there are pain points. The most of the things related to COVID-19 pandemic pain points, but it has made the professional world to change their and change and adopt new things as well.
I think Abhinav has a very valid point, because you see the way companies responded, and whichever company responded to it better, they finally, after a few days, they really worked again. And the technology companies shifted the gear, and they speeded up the process of providing the solutions to a lot of companies on automation. Look like companies like we are using one of the interfaces right now. These companies just cashed on in this and did so many things on the video conferencing and other things.
Yes.
The trainers changed their methodology to do more online training. Earlier, they were used to song and dance kind of training where you made them sit and do whatever. Now they can't do all that, with so they changed their work methodology. People have also started accepting the fact that it may not necessarily need to be physically present for a lot of such things like meetings. Earlier, people used to just fly for smallest of the meeting. They will go in the morning, come back for a 2-hour meeting. They will spend a lot of money, stress themselves. Now they're accepted to the reality that it's okay, we can do a video conferencing. Earlier, this acceptance was not there. That video conferencing was still available. People were not willing to use it. So I think that way, companies have responded very well. Government has responded very well across the world to adopt this new reality. And you see, obviously, economically, all the countries are facing the challenges still now because of COVID. But there is a lot of adoption. I think that's one learning. Human beings have a tendency to quickly regroup and challenge themselves to come with solutions. I think that's a big learning from this last 2 years of COVID thing.
So that brings me to my next question. What are the trends that are going to shape HR in the near future?
I think, first of all, this remote job because like everybody now is demanding this work from home opportunities for this IT industries, or we can say hybrid job. And then we can say the employee engagement sessions, because many employees, we have to attract this top talent. So we have to engage the top candidates to retain them, to attract them. So yes, we can take these opportunities as well.
What are your viewpoints on this, sir?
See, as I said in the beginning, for HR, it's never normal. Okay, so everything one or the other. But these 2 years have posed a different set of challenges and opportunities. So if you make if I have to make a full list of what I used to do earlier in HR, and then as my habit is to make a checklist or whatever, and then you tick mark what has changed, what is not changed, and what is different. You will see in all those line items how things have really changed. But even let's not dwell too much on, let's say, COVID, but even otherwise, for HR, I think the challenge remains on, at the moment, top of the challenge for everybody is talent attraction. Getting the right talent for a company is the biggest challenge that HR is facing, has faced for some years. Now it has expanded to many kinds of different roles, because there is also a change in the role specifications everywhere. You don't need now people with because a lot of automation has taken place, so a lot of low skill jobs have gone and are going across industries. It's not only in IT, but it's across industries. Manufacturing, the automation is taking place. And you would have seen how Amazon is changing the shape of warehouse management, right? They are putting full robotics into it, and the companies are transforming themselves. All of them are. And now with the SpaceX and other companies which are challenging the usual working style and connectivity issues, it will be a very different kind of, even HR. For example, if you remember earlier, people never used to, everybody, even some of our clients, right? They insist on physical interviews. We will not. All this has changed, right? Now it is, everybody is okay. They've accepted. So
90%.
HR talent, so HR talent attraction will remain. And the second challenge, which is also has been there in the top list, if I have to make a all-time hit list for HR to tackle, talent attraction and retention goes, same, very close to each other, and the leadership development for larger organizations, because the lifespan of a particular person in an organization has come down significantly. Average lifespan of an employee in an organization has come down. So they have to be continuously preparing for succession plans, for replacements for leaders, etc. And that entire framework remains a challenge, has become even more now. And then, of course, there are newer changes which are, how can HR be, in the world over, when we look at diversity of people, is not only gender, by the way, it's all kind of diversity. How do we manage the multicultural, and diverse workforce, and how can HR contribute through their policy on policies which are more inclusive for all kinds of faith, or you say ethnicity, in some cases gender and state. So that those will continue to remain biggest challenge for HR now, even more so. And the one more thing which and hence related to these things comes like the brand value, employee value proposition and employer value proposition, and why does a person join you? So there are multiple things which can be looked at.
Sir, do you feel that now that the times have changed, like we are into this sort of uncertainty, there should be less focus on stringent policies, and there should be more focus on empathetic leadership?
Yeah, good question. Because some companies, if you have read the book on Netflix, No Rules, some companies are adopting to this, that the rules should be lesser and lesser, because employees want flexibility. And all the employee surveys in the past, whenever any company does an employee survey in the past, you will always see people asking for more flexibility and more, because the rules are so strict of timings or whatever, the simple things. So yes, I think companies have to move towards, and HR has to facilitate that, has to in fact recommend all these things, and that's how you become more strategic as a HR partner in your company, is recommend those. How do we move to an era where more the employee experience, when we say, but we don't really put it into practice because of these rules and stringent policies that are going. I recently read an article about the same thing, Norupa. In fact, this was only 2-3 days back when I was here. I saw this article about how these kinds of obsolete policies, which were kind of made in 60s and 70s and 80s, that era, which required more control and the trust levels. There was a trust deficit between employer and an employee. So these policies came up. It's like policing, right? So, and still many organizations carry the same things, very smaller things on the approval levels to how employee, what is the time punch and time out and other things. So those are things that have to go away. But still, it depends also from company to company. Some companies may require it for certain reasons, but largely, to answer your question, largely yes, the things have to move to a very different, empathetic. You mentioned a good word, and that how leaders can be more caring rather than only solving problems. So it doesn't mean that the leaders have to be caring, as in, but they should be available if person is really need some flexibility. That amount of flexibility you as a leader also have to show, largely on the leadership front. But HR has to facilitate all this. See, there will be some leaders who would want to do all this, but their HR will come and say, this is not the policy. You can't allow somebody to do it. And so HR has to also make it the environment such that there is an opportunity for leaders to also show their, or provide them enough opportunity to show the leadership qualities.
What are your viewpoints on this, Shriyog and Abhinav?
Yes, adding to Nitin sir's point that yes, how leaders can be more caring regarding their employees and organization. Yes, it is the industry adaptation and continuous learning and developing. So every day new things come up. So in order to adapt to those things, not only the lower level people, but also the leadership team needs to constantly adapt, constantly upskill themselves, upskill or reskill themselves with the new technologies or with the new processes, so that they would be able to run the organization.
What are your thoughts on this, Shriyog?
Yes, we should adapt to the new policies depending upon the employees. Employee-friendly policies, so that we can just communicate with the employees well, and then we should not make one policy and it should not we should remain take this for coming years. We should change according to the employees-friendly policies.
So what I could gather from this discussion, correct me if I'm wrong, the hybrid work culture, the remote working work culture is here to stay. And there is a renewed focus on employee engagement, employee well-being, and we are more focused on data-driven HR. Yes, these are very challenging times, but there are enormous opportunities for HR as well.
Sure, absolutely.
Yes.
And since you mentioned employee well-being and other things as being the top focus area, you can see how, again, repeating to my earlier points probably, but some companies really came out with a lot of flexibility for people who during the COVID time, as terms of number of leaves, their medical policies and other things, if somebody is hospitalized, etc. So I think companies have also responded very well, and that's how companies, good companies, big companies would usually do. And even if they're not financially able to, and some companies are not able to. But there is enough flexibility to be given to the person to get well. You could see that everywhere, right? It's not only in India, it's across the world that this was adopted very well. But this is, since COVID is now, towards the end, there are other challenges which HR will keep on facing. As I said, it's never normal for HR. It's always a evolving function.
Thank you so much, everyone. I think this was a great conversation, and hope to see you all soon in another episode of Guftagoo. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Everybody, and I hope we celebrate this HR Day. We remember the importance of HR in the overall scheme of things. Largely, I would say largely HR has remained as a thankless job in many organizations, but they're the backbone, right? Always. Yes. And now increasingly you can see HR playing a very strategic role. A lot of people are getting into important strategic positions in an organization coming from HR background. There are some examples here, but the HR person has to be a person who has this sacrifice, as a mantra, that you do not have to expect returns or recognition anytime. Your job is like that. Yes. It's something which I think the good HR person would always know, that how we can accept that reality, but still, keep on focusing and keep on working towards making whichever workplace we are responsible for, making that place a better place. All right. Thank you, Navrupa.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abhinav. Thank you, Shri.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.